Hi guys, in this video I'll show you the 99.7% sanded hull, and I'll tell you what the next step in my osmosis treatment is going to be. I'll also get started on removing the old through hulls, and last but not least I'll pitch a tent, or at least kind of a tent. In the last video I mentioned that I've reached out to some experts here in Denmark and the verdict's in. So the good news is that it won't be as expensive as the $2,200 quotes I received for having the hull sandblasted. The bad news is that I'm gonna be required to do a lot of fairing, which of course involves lots more sanding. But more about that later in the video. For now, let's head over to Athena. Look at that! All the old barrier coat has been removed. As you can see, it's all gone, with a few exceptions. Among them, this little strip up here. I've purposely left that strip behind so that I could show you what I used to get rid of the barrier coat in that annoying curve in between the hull and the keel. Ta-da! Every time I pick up a product from 3M, I'm usually very pleased. I think these are meant to be used on metal, but out of all the things I've tried to remove that stubborn barrier coat in between the hull and the keel, these were second to none. Let's get back to the state of the hull very briefly. One of the last areas I sanded was this area up here behind me, and that was where I found some of the worst blistering on the hull. Almost all of the blisters I've found on the hull were in between the barrier coat and the hull. But up here, the blistering is inside the laminate. It's still not very deep, but it is inside the laminate. Before ending this video, I'll give you a quick peek at this disc in use, and I'll also take the angle grinder to those blisters I've just mentioned. But all of that is gonna generate quite a lot of dust, and I'd much rather put that off till the end of the day. Like I mentioned in my last video, I reached out to some experts regarding the voids or the dry spots on the hull, and much like I suspected, they've recommended that I remove them. Now that's going to leave quite an uneven surface that's going to require lots of fairing. That, of course, is the very thing I was trying to avoid by sanding the hull myself rather than having it sandblasted. Very annoying for sure, but the only thing that matters is that this job gets done right. I don't want to do this a second time. The good news is that the experts I reached out to have a machine I can rent that'll both clean the hull thoroughly and get rid of those voids or dry spots. It's a beast of a machine that I'll introduce you to in an upcoming video. As for the cost of renting this machine, it's around $75 per day, and it shouldn't take me more than a day, so at least I'll still have saved a lot of money by sanding the hull myself, rather than having it sandblasted. Sadly, the cost of having that machine transported here is going to be around $200. Well, enough talking for now. Let's move on to something a little bit more destructive. That's 1 down, 8 to go. That worked out fairly well. One minor adjustment for the next through hull. Maybe I should place my tripod a bit further back so that I don't get that yucky sludge from the hose all over my new tripod. Yuck. As you can see here, this through hull is in very good condition considering that it's 30 years old. And if you'll note the color of this is a piece of the flange. This is a nice bright color. If this has more of a pinkish color to it, that's a clear warning sign. And, there's no signs of corrosion in this, so this is in perfect working order. So why would I want to remove the old through hulls if they're in good condition? Well, there are multiple reasons, but let me show you. This is where that through hull was located, and you can see here that it's sitting atop an island of old gel coat. When the gel coat was removed 8 or 9 years ago, the yard that did that work simply just left the through hulls in. So all the through hulls are sitting atop little islands of gel coat. I want to get rid of all that old gel coat. On lots of boats you'll see elevated moisture levels in the laminate around through hulls, and considering all the trouble I'm going through to see if I can lower the moisture level in the laminate, leaving those old through hulls in seems like kind of a no-go to me. Also, the seacocks needs to be replaced anyways, and at least in my eyes, 30 years is probably a good run for a through hull. I've removed 4 through hulls now, and that was relatively easy. Only one of them put up a bit of resistance, and that's this one here. That's the same type as this one, and if you look closer you can see that this is through bolted straight through the hull. This is where that stubborn seacock was located, and that's the identical one I just pointed out on the outside of the hull. The first thing I did was to try and loosen this nut here on the bolt that goes straight through the hull. So let's see if this is in just as bad condition as the other bolts. This is the nut I just snapped off. You remember that pinkish color I was talking about earlier? Well, this is what you don't want to see. The good thing about the nut just snapping off like that is that it's pretty easy to remove the rest of the bolt. And just like that, it's gone. For better or worse, it looks like the last two bolts are a little bit more stubborn than the first two. It certainly was a lot easier with the nuts that just snapped off. And I think the bad news is that the bolt might be stuck, so this might all be in vain, but we'll see. And there we go. You guys remember in the last video where I bitched a little bit about the fact that it would be nice to be able to remove all of the cabin sole without having to disassemble the entire boat? Well, right now, for instance, it would be awesome to be able to remove this little piece over here. See, I can't really get in there, and this little bit right here, that's kind of in the way, so I can't take a screwdriver to that bolt or anything like that. So if I was able to remove this piece right here, that would be awesome. But I'm not, so we'll just have to use a bit of violence instead. I've been slicing and dicing at that through hole for about 15 minutes, but I finally think I've got it. I know this looks pretty mangled, but that's the bolt right here, and I've cut a line into it so that I can get my hammer in here. Like this. Damn it! Well, that's fine by me. If it doesn't want to come out this way, I can always push it up that way. Ha! Ah! I'm not gonna lie, this feels pretty good. This is my little museum of through holes. Now the astute will note that there are only 5 through holes here. That's because the last 3 through holes are underneath this support right here. And it is a little bit gusty today, so I don't want to lower that support today, so they'll have to wait for another day. I don't think I'm gonna throw away the seacocks I've removed from the boat. I think I'm gonna save them and maybe cast them into something fun for the boat this winter. I might have been watching too much SV Seeker. The next item on my to-do list is to put up a boom tent, so let's grab some measurements. 4 by 4 meters should do the trick. As luck would have it, the tarp I've got is almost the perfect size, so I don't think I'll have to trim it, which is a bit of a shame because I'd planned a whole elaborate thing with some duct tape and being all clever and stuff, but yeah, I guess sometimes you're just lucky. I've been thinking about it, and I'm gonna do the duct tape thing anyways, although I don't need to trim that tarp, but I want to see if it works, so bear with me here. The tarp has these grommets right here, and those aren't really very strong. They normally pop out and then the tarp tears. So I figured it might be a better solution to use some duct tape. And the whole reason I came up with this was because I thought I'd have to trim that tarp and I wouldn't have those grommets. But I think the duct tape might actually be a better solution than the grommets, but I guess we'll find out. Okay, let's give this a go. I think that turned out reasonably well. Getting aboard the boat with the tarp in place is a little bit more tricky, so that's why I've got these. There are 2 reasons why I've put up this tarp. The first reason I've put up the tarp are the port lights. Now that the hull is busy drying, I can move on to the next major project on my to-do list, and that's to take care of all the leaks here aboard the boat, including the leaky port lights. While I'm busy replacing the port lights, the tarp is gonna keep rainwater out of the boat. The second reason I've put up the tarp, and that is a bit of an added bonus, is that I can now keep this hatch open even if it's raining a little. And that should help the boat dry out a little bit quicker. A big plus in my book. I'm just about to head back to Obelix, but before I do that, I had promised you guys to show you one of these discs in action, so cue the sanding. These things are freaking awesome. Anyways, let's head back to Obelix because there's gonna be a bit of an epilogue to this video. And just like that, through the magic of video editing, I'm back aboard Obelix. I've cheated a little bit and already made a rough edit of this video. There was quite a lot of wind today and therefore also quite a lot of wind noise. And I was anxious to see if I actually had enough good footage to cobble together a video. I've had to discard quite a lot of footage, but yeah, I think the video turned out kind of okay. Rest assured, I'll be shopping for a wireless lavaliere mic later tonight. I've gotten a few requests for some more footage of Jökull, my Icelandic sheepdog. He's been a good boy looking after Obelix while I've been shooting this video. So I think he deserves a treat. These things are extremely pungent, but Jökull loves them. See, it's some kind of dried fish. Let's go. I think it's safe to say that both Jökull and I are very much looking forward to moving aboard Athena. But there's a lot of work to be done, which of course means lots and lots of videos, so stay tuned for those. Oh, and one small upside to me already having done a rough edit of this video is that this video should be published in 2 hours from now. Okay guys, that is gonna be it for this video. See you! Jökull and I hope you've enjoyed this video. For more videos like it, click subscribe. Please consider leaving a comment and a thumbs up. It really helps me a lot and I appreciate your support very much. If you're new to the channel, please check out the introduction playlist. If you want to watch every single video I've ever published, check out the playlist named All Videos. It contains every single video listed in chronological order.